Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for our first program year webinar on fiscal management. I want to make sure that everyone can hear us. So if you can hear us, if you would please raise your hand. All right. Looks good. We promise that by the end of the year we will be pros in doing webinars, but as we go through these first couple of ones, please be patient with us as we navigate through screens. Hopefully all of you have found the question box. Everyone on the call is on mute, so if you have a question, please raise your hand or enter it into the question box, and we will respond to those as we have time and availability. And let's just jump in. As I said, this webinar is about fiscal management. And so we want to go through and show you a few tools that are available for you, talk with you about how you're going to be requesting funds this year, and any other changes that have been addressed. I can tell you everything we're going to talk about today is not new. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't pay attention. We all know that as learners, the more we hear it, the better we are at it, the more it sticks in our minds. So we want to go through it. The first thing you'll see on your screen is the State Department of Education's website. We are starting here because we want to make sure that all of you are aware that our program does have a website and that it is full of tools for you to help with your program. So from the homepage of the State Department of Education's website, which is www.sde.idaho.gov, we can be found on the front page very easily. If you go to schools and all these different programs pop up, over here at the very top it says after school. You can click on that and that will take you to the 21st CCLC program page. On this page there's lots of different resources, as I mentioned, but we just are going to touch on a few today that have to do with fiscal management. But as you can see, there's different things that you can access from here. Once the grant application is live, you'll be able to link to it from here as well. This link right now just takes you to last year's information. The first thing, every single one of the pages on the State Department of Education site are laid out the exact same way, so it should make it easy to navigate. There's files, frequently asked questions, trainings, and different links. So on the first page under files, there's general information. And we want to touch on a few of these. The first one is the continuous improvement checklist. This is what Andrew and I will use to monitor your program when we come out in years 2 and 4. Even if you are not in years 2 and 4, you want to be well aware of this document and constantly be working on making sure you have all of these different pieces in place. The entire program, as it's been set up recently, all of the documentation ties back to these 6 different categories. And they are safety, fiscal management, governance, program, school linkage, and family and community engagement. So again, we just want to show you where this is at so that if you have a monitoring visit coming up or you have questions as to what we're going to look at, you know where to find this document. Going back to that same page, the next thing is the subgrantee guidance. This is what was provided to you prior to the fall directors meeting. This is the electronic version of it. It is all hyperlinked, and so you can go out to this one. You can click on the different categories, such as fiscal management, and it will take you right to that page. We are not going to cover everything in fiscal management that is in the subgrantee guidance. It is your responsibility to be aware of that information. So now would be a good time to mark this, to plan on reading this, maybe as soon as we get done with this call, to read through all of this and make sure that you are aware of all of the different pieces. One of the big ones to be aware of are due dates, which we'll talk about briefly, but also listed in here is all of the unallowable expenses. Please make sure that you are aware of those. and know the guidelines around each one of these categories. All right, jumping back to our website. We're going to scroll down. As you can see, there's different tabs here. As you open those, there's different information under it. Because this webinar is about fiscal management, we're going to go to the fiscal management section. Under here, I want to make a clarification. There's going to be some name changes that are going to happen within these, just to clarify what each one of these documents are. The budget workbook is going to change to the budget tracking documentation. This is a tool for you as directors to track your budgets, and we'll talk more about that towards the end of the call. On here as well is a program inventory document. If you click on it and open it up, you'll be able to see a spreadsheet to track your inventory. This is the spreadsheet you need to be using to track your inventory. At the end of the year, when you turn this in as part of your APR, this is the only document that will be accepted, and all of the fields need to be completed. So please make sure that all of your equipment is tracked in this document. If you need further instructions on this, we're happy to go through that. We're not going to go in detail on it on this call. All right. So we'll get into each one of these other documents a little bit here. The first one is the grant reimbursement process. So hopefully this is not a new document. This is one that was provided to all of you at the new directors meeting when you first received your grant. We want to make you aware that it's out here so that you can show it to your business managers and walk through each piece of this. To receive payment for this grant, there are 3 people that are involved. That is your business manager, yourself, and the State Department of Education. In most cases with fiscal information, that will be me, Camille. So you'll be working with me. So again, you'll want to show this to your business manager so that they understand their role and walk through as to what each one of you are going to do. So I'm going to quickly walk through this and then show you the documentation you're going to be using for this. Preferably on a monthly basis, but no less than quarterly, you are going to meet with your business manager, whether that's via email, phone call, or face-to-face. And your business manager is going to provide you a report that shows line item detail of all expenses that have hit against the 21st budget for that time period. Again, we prefer that you do this monthly, and there are a lot of grant directors that will speak to how it's a lot easier to do this monthly. But if that doesn't work, you can do it quarterly. Your business manager is going to provide to you that detailed report. From that detailed report, you as the director are going to take that and you are going to complete the budget justification workbook. All of you submitted a budget justification of your APR, and we'll get into that in a minute, that showed what you were going to spend your funds on. As you look through that report, you're going to want to be looking for items that might have been miskeyed towards 21st, charges that you weren't aware of that were billed to you. You're going to want to make sure that you're aware of all the charges on there and that they are allowable. From that, we're going to move over here. You're going to create the budget justification drawdown. In the past, we've just called that the justification form. You're going to complete that information, and then you're going to send both of those items to me via email. Sometime along this line, your business manager is going to go into what is called the Grant Reimbursement Application, or the GRA, and they are going to actually request the funds for your organization.
Can you show real quick where to access the GRA, not to get into the GRA,
Yep.
but just the web page?
Yep, I can. So let me show you where that is found. So that is again found on that Schools tab. You go down to Accounting, and here's the access to the GRA portal. You will not have access to that. That is something that is for your business manager. They are the ones who have access to this. This is where they make the requests for all of the grants that your organization has from the State Department of Education. All right. So coming back, that's where they're going to go in and make that request. Once I receive your 2 documentations, and please send those in one email. It makes it a little easier to find that. And then if the email subject line is very clear that this is a drawdown request for May or whatever month it might be, it makes it easy for me to find those and process those as quickly as possible. When you send those emails, please do not include anything else that is not fiscal related or drawdown related, meaning that if you have a question about, is this an allowable purchase, or we're thinking about making a program change, that needs to come in a separate email from the payment request. The reason being is when I see a payment request, I flag it. It falls down into a separate folder in my email, and I do not look at it again until I'm ready to make payment. So if you have a question, it will not be responded to until possibly a week later. So once I have all of those, I take the 2 documents that you send me. I look to make sure that your business manager has submitted their request, and I ask them to make sure that they match up. I'm looking to make sure that the items that are being requested were actually approved. They were part of your original budget. They tie back to your program plan, and they are allowable within 21st funds. So I look at all of that information. If everything matches up and your business manager's request matches up, then I go ahead and I approve the payment in the grant reimbursement application. When that takes place, on the 11th and 25th of each month, our accounting office here batches all of those payments together, and they hit their approval button, and then your organization receives the payment back. Those payments only take place on the 11th and 25th. If one of those dates falls on a weekend or a holiday, the payment will go out the following Monday. As an organization, your organization is responsible to have 2 months worth of funding to run your program outside of 21st. 21st is a reimbursement-only program, so you can't plan on these funds coming in as quickly as you spend them. If that is a concern, please let's have an offline conversation. Please let myself or Andrew know. In order to accommodate all of the payments that come in, I ask for a 2-week turnaround. Some programs set that up so that they make sure that they have everything to me on the 11th so that they get paid on the 25th. All right, so you all seen where this payment process is at. We now want to get into the individual items. I'm going to pause right now for just a minute to see if anybody has any questions. If you do, go ahead and type those into the chat box or into the question box. Okay, so moving on, and I'm actually going to let Andrew take over here for just a minute. So moving on, we want to go back to the budget justification workbook. Again, all of you saw this as part of you completed that information on that first tab, and your in-kind information over here. So once it was approved, you received that back via an email from me. And you should save that document because that is now what you're going to be working off for all of your drawdown funds. I'm going to let Andrew explain how that's going to work throughout the year.
All right, good morning. So my vision with this Excel document is that it'll help us and help you guys, better track throughout the year of where the money stands, having it all in one central location, and then at the end of the year, hopefully to make it easy and efficient for you guys to see, oh, here's how much we have left to request. Let's push this out instead of waiting in kind of that unknown area when we get into late June and then it's a scramble. And the other thing is switching it from the Word document to the Excel, just thinking of using numbers, and Excel's more developed for that, for formulas and so forth. So I will say, so first off is in all of these categories, so on this left side will be your requested budget. So you'll be, oh, here's what you were approved to do. This formula is already set, so you don't ever have to touch this side. So if I were you, I would probably take this and gray it out or something. So then that way you know, like, oh yeah, I don't touch those numbers. They'll automatically do their thing, boom, that's it. So then you'll have, what you set up of, oh, here's our justification, here's where we're going to spend our money, here's what it totals out to be, booyah. And then here's the total down here, so you can see, oh, this budget is for $140,000. Here it is. Okay, so really on this page, now that you have this set in, you don't have to touch anything on this. So then what you would do is down here, you can see there's these little tabs for each month. So July, August, September, October, November, so forth. You can click on them and they will bring up your budget. So we'll look at July. So again, on this column B, you don't need to touch that. It's already done. There it is. So don't worry about column B. Third time's the charm. Don't worry about column B. Okay, so here you're going to write in what it is that you're requesting. So in personnel, we have 1 program director, 2 center coordinators, 3 teachers, and you're requesting $4,821, which this information, again, must match what your expenditure, your ledger states from your business manager. Okay, so then you can see, you put in, oh, here's your personnel, or here's your fringe, and all the other categories. So then you can see this will automatically tally down here, total all of this. You can see, oh, you're requesting $12,203.41 for this drawdown. Which then means, if you look right here, you now have $127,796.59 remaining after this drawdown request. Okay, so pretty easy. You can see here's the justification. So when Camille receives this, she'll look back through. So in equipment, 10 iPads at $400. She'll look at the approved budget, and she'll say, okay, equipment, they did have 10 iPads. And here, you originally budgeted for $599, but yet the actual cost is $400. So you're going to know, oh, you're going to have already roughly $2,000 extra in your equipment budget that you didn't spend because this came out to be a cheaper price than what you originally budgeted for. And we'll kind of get there in a minute. But same thing here, so purchase services, she'll take it, look at the approved budget and say, oh yeah. Oh, yep, there it is. Cell phone service, budgeted in, perfect, golden. She'll look at it, match this up, everything's great, we'll push it forward. Okay, so again, you will save this. Once you complete this information of what the justification is here and the cost in that category. You're going to go File. You'll save it however you save a file, and then you'll send it to Camille. The big thing here is send it to her as an Excel form. Do not send it to her as a PDF, because if it comes as a PDF, we have no way of
verifying, going back and forth between the multiple tabs. We have the workbook from your approved one, but if you send it to me in an Excel document, it makes it easier to see if there were mistakes in formulas, why things aren't working out. Just please don't PDF it.
And the other thing is because we'll save this document, and now we will look at this one document on our side to verify from your side. Does that make sense? So then we can see, oh yeah, we see that you currently have $127,000 left, and that's what you would see as well. Okay, so then you go into the next month, and you can see right here, again, you don't need to touch these columns, but you can see that it's already changed. So now you have $57,653, where your original budget had $62,000. Okay, so when you go in and let's say, let's do, transportation, just as a sample. Let's say that for August, you guys went to Mexico. Well, let's not go to Mexico, but you went somewhere.
You're on a statewide road trip.
And it cost $25,000. Okay? So then when you go to September, you'll see that you have a negative here, which hopefully will let you know as these things pop up in the negative that you're going to need to do a budget revision. And we will explain how we'll do that process in just one moment. So that's pretty much the basic thing. When you get to August, you do August drawdown, send it to us. Now one thing, if you do this quarterly, then you could just set in, or a lot of grantees, their first drawdown doesn't actually come until September. And that's okay. Then you could just leave these ones blank, and then start with September, and then just change the date right here. So your beginning date, you would go in and you'd say, oh, this one goes from July 1 to September 30th. And then you would do all the information and so forth, and then whatever the cost is going to be for those 3 months. And so you would do the exact same format, but just in that quarterly thing. So you can leave these ones here, and you would just leave it blank, and then we would know, oh, we'll look at this. So this is July 1st through September 30th drawdown. Same thing. So then if your next one comes up in December, you would go in and say, oh, this is actually from, October 1 to December 31st. All right. And again, like I said, the goal here ultimately is that when we get into, May and June, you'll be able to look at this budget and see what's been requested and know, oh yeah, I'm still sitting on a large chunk here, or oh yeah, we're going to need more money in this category and so forth. And hopefully it'll just help both parties, you guys and us, make this more efficient. That when we get to the end of the year, we can wrap up that money quicker and make this a little more efficient.
Let's look and see if there's any questions so far about what we've. All right, give us just a minute as we look through. All right, those of you that were round 11, you have not yet received your budget workbooks because we need to put those together from your approved budget in the grant application. So those are forthcoming.
So you will, in terms of emailing this document, you will email this full document each month or quarter that you do it. So It will show that, July will be here every single time that you email this document. You don't need to go through and pull this one, pull August out and send it to us. Just send us the whole entire document.
And we would prefer that you not pull things out because that will mess up the formulas. The next question has to do with a request to add a percentage onto this. We can certainly look at that for next year. However, most of these have already gone out. And so if you want to add that yourself, feel free to go ahead and add a formula that shows the percentage of your budget that is left. You have it there in front of you. I would also put out there, if you are not familiar with the basics of Excel, you are going to need to understand that. So many of the things that we are pushing out are in Excel. So it is allowable use of funds to go to an Excel class and understand this. Have somebody in your district help you with this, but you are going to want to understand the basics of Excel.
And real quick, if you want to do this on your own and create, so percentage remaining, here is how you could do that. Do a little equal sign, type in sum, and then you could scroll down and say, oh, this number, so your grant total remaining after request, divided by, and now you have two options. One, you can put in what your actual award amount is. So for this one, it's $140,000. So you could type in $140,000, or you can click on your main page, click there, and then click enter, and it's going to pull it up like this. And of course, you could go into right here on your home page, and then you could click this % sign, and then it'll give you the percentage. So you know that you currently have 91% of your budget remaining after this drawdown. Okay. So that is how you could do that. On the budget tracker sheet, on the other one, it does have this option already built into it where it'll give you that percentage. And again, this will be something I can add into the future, and we could go that route, because as you saw, it's not very hard to add that formula right there, so then you just know, oh, here I am, boom, I'm on task, or I'm spending my money. And again, we're just kind of reading through the questions, so then that way we can address those right now.
So this documentation is not meant for you to track your budget on a daily basis, individual line items. The other budget workbook that is out there online, that is what you would use if you were looking for a tool to track your budget on an ongoing live basis. So again, this is just for communication back and forth between the State Department, your business manager, and yourself, so that we can get funds out to you. It is not meant to be your detailed tracker.
This is, so the next question is how is round 11 into this? Because round 11, we currently have an online application process, so the grant is kept online. And this is one thing that I was slightly misguided on, is I was under the impression that with round 11 we would do all the budgets on the online application. However, it's currently not set up to do that. So we will do the initial budget on the application, so we'll be able to see where the first approval was. But in terms of the reimbursement process throughout the year, we will still be on this workbook.
Yep.
And
yeah, so round 11, we'll get those out to you as soon as possible. If you did already submit a payment for this current year in the old format, we're going to ask that you go back to this budget workbook and resubmit it with this new workbook, so that you have the correct information going forward for the entire year. Again, as I approved your budgets, I sent you an email that stated that it was approved, and I attached your approved budget workbook to that email. If you have received an email from me saying that your 16-17 budget is approved and you did not receive that workbook, please let me know. Please also be aware, as the email that I sent out on Monday, I am running behind on things. My priority right now is to get through all of the payments for last year because those are going to be paid out on Monday. So that is what I am working on. If an issue comes up that you need to get a hold of me regarding financial stuff right away that is urgent, please call me. But again, you guys, what's happened is I've received emails on top of emails on top of emails asking if I received an email. And I'm trying to comb through all of those to get to the priority items. So please be patient. We're working through it as quickly as we can.
Okay, so one question on this is, you know, what about costs such as transportation or indirect that come in large bulk towards the end of the year and so forth? And from our standpoint, that is okay. You know, so if your indirect cost is billed at the very end of the year for the whole entire year, that's okay. Or same thing with your transportation. If, you know, as long as we can see the breakout of transportation was from September to May, you know, I mean, that's okay if it's all in one large sum. The one caution I would say, though, with that, if you have a big transportation budget of just being on top of your game to know, oh yeah, is transportation at the end of the year really going to cost $24,242? Just because if you wait and don't get that bill until June 15th and it only comes out to be $15,000, you know, it's bam, you're now sitting on $9,000 with a week and a half to figure out how to get what to do with that money. So it's okay that it does come at the end of the year. It's just, again, planning, working with your business manager, transportation, to make sure that you don't lose leftover money.
All right, yes, if you submitted last year's drawdown in the old format, that is fine. This format does not start until the July 1st drawdowns for current year funding. So you're fine there. All right, and thank you for the compliments. This is going to be a great improvement over what we've had in the past, so we're excited about it. All right, we're running out of time, so there's a few other things that we want to cover. One of them is going to be budget revision. So for a budget revision, Andrew, and it's out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So real quick, I just want to see, you know, so if you have August and, you know, your supplies come out to be $9,000, one, you can clearly see you're going to need a budget revision. You know, or if you already anticipate, yeah, we're going to have leftover in personnel. We didn't have a director for 3 months, and that $6,000 is built up. You know, we can make a budget revision. So we do have a separate form for that. Do you want to?
Yes. So I want to talk to you about budget revisions. It's not out on our website yet, but will be in just a few days. You will actually see a budget revision form. The way that we're going to do budget revisions is going to be outside of the workbook. So you'll have a form. It will look exactly like the workbook. It's just not tied to anything that you're going to submit. It also looks just like the justification form of last year. So I created this so you can kind of see, have notes to follow. This is an example. Over here in the approved budget column, you are going to manually enter your approved budget. That is the approved budget from the very first tab of your budget workbook, this column B right here. You are going to enter that into this line, this section right here.
And let me jump in and show a little tip.
You're going to cut and paste it, aren't you?
Yeah. So a real quick Excel tip. I'll just make it easy. So if you come in, and this will be the only Excel tip I give because I'll try and keep it easy. So if you go to this first month in July, this will be your original budget. So you can highlight this. From here you can do one or two options. You can do a Control-C, which copies, or if you're a mouse clicker, right-click, and then click Copy. And then you can go into the budget revision, click on this. You can do a Control-V, which is paste, or if you're a right-clicker, you can right-click and then paste. And of course, you could just paste the value, so it only shows that and doesn't do the color. And then boom, there it is. So you wouldn't have to touch anything else. Okay.
Okay. All right. So you're going to enter that approved budget. You're then going to go and you're going to tell us why you need this budget revision. So in this case, I put in, due to the low number of students at the first, we didn't hire a second teacher until the third month of program, so we had a salary savings of $1,890. So if you'll notice, that amount is entered in a negative amount. We are taking that out of our budget, our personnel budget, and going to put it somewhere else. Of course, there was fringe tied to that, so that is also coming out. So we have a total of $2,218 that we now have to put in another category. So, and I'm going to show you how you know that. So down here, you've got your negative $2,218. Well, I got to put these back in here. You're going to then go through and you're going to tell us what categories you're going to add those to. So we're going to add those into equipment. Here's all the equipment that we're going to purchase and the amounts that they're going to be purchased at. On this one, this kind director has made a note that they've already submitted a technology request for the technology that they're purchasing and on what date. So that flags us that they've already done that process. And it's going to come to $1,000. They're also going to add money to their supply category for their gardening and sewing classes, which I'm not going to jump back, but I'll guarantee you that was on their original budget. So it's $218. And then they have added 2 field trips to the zoo and the museum. Now, because these field trips were not on their original budget request, they've also put in a request for those. They've made a note here to tell us they've done that. We'll talk about those in a minute, and that's going to be $1,000. As they've added these in, this amount down here has now gone back to a 0 total. So we know that they have debited and credited that $2,000 and change. Over here in this category, it's now going to show what their new budget amounts are going to be in each one of those, totaling their $140,000 grant. So I've put some notes in here for you as well, just to walk you through that. You're going to indicate how much is going to be taken from the category by a negative number, a positive number. We'll say what's going in there. You need to include both why the funds were available to move in the first place and what you're going to be using them for. This amount needs to equal 0. On this example, we've grayed out the items that you don't want to touch. These are all formula based, so you don't want to touch any of those fields. Yellow.
Let's do a quick, let's delete out that supplies 218. And so you can see right there on that column E how that number changes when you put in that 218, so you can put it back in.
And you can see down here that you still have 218 that you need to obligate.
So again, on column E, you do not need to touch that formula. It'll do it automatically.
All right. And then down here are some hints. The gray forms are ones that you need to not touch. The yellow are fields that need to be completed. You would save this again as an Excel document and email that to me. I will then go through, make any, approve the budget, any questions, whatever needs to happen. And I will take this, I will update your budget workbook with your new approved budget and send your new budget workbook back to you with the new approved items. So then you will start using that budget workbook going forward. All right, we're quickly running out of time. So let me look at the questions quickly. If you're using money outside of 21st, it should not be tracked in this workbook at all. This is only 21st money that you're going to be showing in here. First thing you guys are going to always want to know about Excel is this little button right here. It's an undo button. It will become your friend. If you make a mistake, click the undo button. Yes, you need to wait until we have this budget sheet up to submit budget revisions. Hopefully you won't have a lot. You just received your approved budget, so hopefully there's not a lot that needs to shift at this point. Again, please don't put anything else in this workbook other than the money that you are drawing down on an individual drawdown. Please don't use this to track things, other information in. Please don't use this. It will mess up the formulas. It won't match what needs to be in place for your drawdowns. All of that should be tracked in a separate workbook or tracking system.
And again, the purpose of this document is, one, to do the reimbursement process for your district organization to get the money, for us to verify it and then you guys to get it. And then two, that across the board we can be on the same page with the State Department and the district of how much money you guys have requested so far. So then that way we don't have those gray areas of you might have one number, we have a different number, and so forth.
And then there was a question about, can this be submitted as a Google Doc? For the time being, no. Please keep it in Excel, just because it's easier if everybody's using the exact same format for me than having to go back and forth between two different formats. So if you would please just keep it on Excel, that will make things go a little bit faster. There is a question about transportation that we're going to take offline. The director who posed that question, we will get back with you on that. We want to move on now because our time is actually already expended, and so we want to be respectful of your time. There's one last thing that we want to show you. We've made mention of it already a little bit, and that is request forms. Again, here out on our website, there are the subgrantee request forms. You are, again, required to know what things you need to request prior to purchasing or happening. That includes field trips that were not in your original APR and approved, or that are out of state or more than an hour away. Out-of-state conferences need to be approved. Any program changes from your grant application or your APR need to be approved prior to making those changes. Technology requests, anything that you are purchasing for technology that has not already been approved in your APR or your original budget, you need to complete that information. And then if you are making changes to add a summer program for those that are not required to do it, that would be the round 7, 8, and 9. If you are going to add a summer program, then you need to have approval on that. Again, it is your responsibility as directors to be aware of all of these. If you click on all of them, there's additional information in there. It's also in the subgrantee guidance. Please make sure that you are aware of it. If you have questions, let us know. If you are a director and you don't have a way of tracking your budget, or you would like to be shown a way to track your budget, if you would please just raise your hand. So again, if If you are a director and you don't have a way to track your budget, all right. So let's we'll quickly address final questions. Oh yes, one last piece. So this training was recorded. It is over on our web. We will post it on our website under the trainings tab. This is where all websites have been uploaded. Again, you're responsible to be aware of these. If you have not watched them, watch them. It will be posted here. I would recommend that your very first meeting with your business manager for the year, you sit down and watch this webinar with them and answer any questions that they may have. So that is where that will be located at. All right. So once again, your approved budgets were sent out via email, and your workbooks were attached to those emails. If you did not receive your workbook, please email me. I will get that to you as soon as possible.
And let's make this easy for Camille. If you need the workbook sent again, in the subject line, will you put, please send 2016-17 workbook? And then that way she'll know, just as she sorts through her email and everything, that it'll be quick and easy to get to you.
Yeah. And again, there are a few of you that your budgets have not been approved yet, and that's not because there's issues, it's just because time of getting to all of them. So my priority right now is to get through last year's payments that have to be done by the end of this week. So again, thank you for being with us. We are available for questions anytime via email or phone calls. We're happy to work with you, and hopefully you found this helpful. So thank you and have a good day.